Now, how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. Now, let me remind everybody, let's mute our microphones. In 3, 2, 1, mute please. Now, how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. The first step is you need to write it first in standard form. Then be sure that the numerical coefficient of x squared, or we say the value of a, is 1. Now, what will you do if the value of a is not 1? Example, we have 2x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. If the value of a is not 1, then you need to divide all by the value of a. So divide all by 2. So we now have x squared plus 2x minus 4 equals 0. Next, in step 3, we move the constant term to the right-hand side of the equation. Here, if this is the equal sign, this on the left is called the left-hand side of the equation. The one on the right is called the right-hand side of the equation. So we move the constant term to the right-hand side of the equation. We have x squared plus 2x equals 4. Then what will we do? In step 4, we need to make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. How are we going to do it? Remember, divide b by 2 and square it. So if we have this one, remember the last term should always be positive. What will be the last term? That's 2 divided by 2. Then you square it. So the answer is 1. And remember, whatever you add to the left-hand side, you also add to the right-hand side. So since we added 1 to the left-hand side, we also add 1 to the right-hand side. Next, step 5, we'll factor the left-hand side. So that will be x plus 1 squared equals 5. Next, find the value of x by applying the square root property. Square root of the left, square root of the right. Then we solve for the value of x. Let us start. Ready? This one. X squared plus 8x minus 33 equals 0. This is step 1. Let's go to step 2. Transfer the constant term. Step 2 is okay. This is 1. Step 3, transfer the constant to the other side. So we have x squared plus 8x equals 33. Next, step 4. What must be added to the left-hand side to make it a perfect square trinomial? In the chat box, please. What should be added to x squared plus 8x to make it a perfect square trinomial? Remember what we will do? 8 divided by 2, that's 4. Then we square it. What's the answer? 16. So you add 16 to the left-hand side. We also add 16 to the right-hand side. Next, factor the left hand. What are the factors? Square root of x squared is x plus square root of 16 is 4 squared equals 49. Next, apply the square root property. So square root of the left and square root of the right. The square root and the squared will be canceled out. So we're left with x plus 4. The square root of 49 is plus and minus 7. Remember, there are two roots. So we place here case number 1. In case number 1, we will take the positive 7. In case number 2, we will work with the negative 7. Let's solve for x. Transpose, we have x equals 7 minus 4. So x equals 3. Here, transpose, x equals negative 7 minus 4. So x equals negative 11. So what are our roots? Our roots are 3 and negative 11. Do you have any questions? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go to the next one. Oh, there are no questions. Only if you have thumbs up. Okay, let's practice more. Ready? The next one. Sige. I'll give you time. Ready? I'll give you time to transfer. Let's transfer 19 to the other side. So we have x squared minus 10x equals negative 19. Now next, we make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. What will you add to the left-hand side to make it a perfect square trinomial? 10 divided by 2, square it. What's the answer? In the chat box. Ten divided by 2, that's 5. You square it, the answer is, very good, 25. And remember the golden rule. Do unto others what you want others to do unto you. So since we added 25 on the left-hand side, we'll also add 25 on the right-hand side. So we have, let's factor the left hand. X minus 5 squared. How about on the right-hand side? Negative 19 plus 25. That is 6. Square root to the left, square root to the right. So cancel now. We have x minus 5 equals, there's no rational number for the square root of 6. So let's only have plus and minus square root of 6. Let's have case 1. Case 1 is the positive of the square root. So x minus 5 equals square root of 6. Case 2 is the negative of the square root. So x minus 5 equals negative square root of 6. Again, case 1 is the positive, case 2 is the negative, or you could interchange them as long as they're different. So for case 1, we transfer 5 plus square root of 6. For case 2, we transfer. That's 5 minus square root of 6. So here are our answers, the roots. Or you say 5 plus and minus the square root of 6. You need more practice, right? Now, the next one. Just feel free to raise your hand if you have questions, okay? Let's go to the next number. Here, 2x squared minus 8x minus 5. Our x squared, our a is 2, right? So we need to make it 1. What do? We divide all terms by 2. Why do we need to divide it all by 2? So that our a becomes 1. So I have this. Next, step number 3. We transfer our constant to the other side. So we have x squared minus 4x equals 5 over 2. Next, we make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. What will we add? So make it a perfect square trinomial. That's 4 divided by 2. You square it. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. You square. That's 4. So add 4 to the left. Add 4 to the right. Next, we have, let's factor it out. X squared of x squared is x minus, so minus. Square root of 4 is 2. So quantity, again, how to read this? Quantity x minus 2 squared. Do not say quantity x minus 2 quantity squared. No. Again, quantity, that's for the whole parenthesis, x minus 2 squared equals, this needs your favorite fractions. Actually, 5 and 1/2, we can have it in decimal. 5 and 1/2, 5 over 2 is 2.5 or 2 and 1/2. That's 6.5. Or you can write it as 6 and 1/2. Square to the left, square to the right. Better do it in fraction. It's better. 4, 8, 13 over 2. So we have x minus 2 equals plus and minus square root of 13 over 2. So if you don't want to have cases, you just transfer to the other side. What are our roots? 2 plus and minus square root of 13 over 2. This is now our answer. Do you have questions? No questions? Let's go to the problem solving. You can see more examples in our module. Okay, MJ, no problem. MJ, be sure to answer the online quiz by 11. Now, the product of two consecutive odd natural numbers. If you say natural numbers, these are positive numbers, is 399. Find the sum of the squares of the numbers. We don't know the two consecutive odd numbers. So let's say, let x be the first natural number. Now you give me examples of two natural numbers. Example, 5 and 6. Consecutive, meaning sunod. Now what's the gap? The gap is only 1. So in finding our next natural number, it's going to be x plus the gap. So x plus 1. This is our second natural number. If we say consecutive even, example 4 and 6, the gap is 2. So if the first is x, the second will be x plus 2 because the gap is 2. Now, what do we do next? Let's have our equation. Product. So it means we'll multiply them. The first is x. The second is x plus 1. The product of two consecutive odd natural numbers is. Is means equal sign is 399. So equals 399. But before we find the sum, we need to solve for the roots first. So we have x squared plus x equals 399. Next, let's do what will happen next. Let us complete the square. So we'll divide it by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. Then we square it. The answer is 1/4. Sorry, I think there is an error in my problem. This should be 2 consecutive odd. Odd. So if the first one is 5, the next one is 7. So our gap is 2. So the second one is x plus 2, not x plus 1. Here. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Let's complete it. 2 divided by 2 squared, that's 1. So add 1 to the left, add 1 to the right. Next, we will factor the left-hand side. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 1 is 1. X plus 1 squared equals 400. Next, square root of the left, square root of the right. Let me continue in this part. That's x plus 1 equals plus and minus the square root of 400. That is 20. Let's have case 1. Case 1, take the positive. X plus 1 equals 20. Transfer. You have x equals 20 minus 1. So x equals 19. In case 2, x plus 1, we take the negative. Negative 20. So x equals negative 20 minus 1. So x equals negative 21. Sorry. So our answer can be 19 or negative 21. But remember, these are natural numbers. These are positive numbers. So we only take the positive answer. This cannot be the answer. So our answer for x is 19. So if the first one is 19, what's the second one? X plus 2. So 19 plus 2, it's 21. So our answers will be 19 and 21. These are the two numbers. But you go back to the question. What's the question? Find the sum of the squares of the numbers. What is the square of 19? 19 squared is 19 times 19. The other is 21 squared. Okay, that's solved. 19 squared is 361. 21 squared is 441. So if you add them, the answer is 802.